Stephen A. Smith is business as usual, and I don't blame them. Joe Biden, he was installed in 2020. They rigged up their primary situation so that Joe Biden would be the nominee. He was not voted in through a proper primary situation. He was installed. And then they turned around and installed Kamala Harris. And that's why Stephen A. Smith is talking so loud about, hey, man, if I don't have to run, I'll run for president. And he's basically saying, if y'all install me the way you installed Hillary Clinton as a candidate, the way you installed Joe Biden as a candidate, the way you installed Kamala Harris as a president, yeah, then I'll run. And then if you can hook me up the way you hooked Joe Biden up with 81 million votes, I'll definitely run. And he's been led to believe that that will happen. And we're saying, oh, well, COVID, well, that's what explains 2020, and COVID is why they got to change the rules. They will come up with something new. They always do. I don't want to sound super cynical, because I'm telling you, I wake up most days and I look at the news, and I woke up this morning and said, dang, Dan Bongino, look at this team Trump has put together. And I'm hopeful. But as I look at the other side and say, they don't think anything's changed. They just think they need to install the right person, and then they'll create the right situation for the right person to get elected president. And fourth, this man is a talk show host on ESPN who strings together words in a thesaurus, who knows nothing about sports, and who knows even less about politics. And I'm watching him get passed off on Sean Hannity's show and all these other shows as if he has something important to say about politics. He doesn't. Going on TV and saying Kamala Harris was a bad candidate, that's not provocative, it's not thoughtful, it's not insightful, it's not profound. James Carville saying anything about Stephen A. Smith, it's all, what they think, and I said this I think last week, is they think he's Black Donald Trump, and that this is 2015, 2016 all over again, and that, hey, Donald Trump was a talk show or was a TV show host, and, you know, he was a blowhard, and he's, you know, Stephen A. Smith, blowhard, he's on TV, and people laughed at the thought of Donald Trump being a president in 2015, and Trump just kept himself in the conversation, kept himself in the news cycle, and the next thing you know, he was a viable presidential candidate, and the next thing you know, he was president. They think they're doing the same thing with Stephen A. Smith. And James Carville participated in that last week by taking a pot shot at Stephen A. Smith, just keeping the conversation going. And now, here we are, fourth in the betting market. People that know Stephen A. Smith, people that have read his work, teachers that you know, this man got held back in 4th grade. Out of his own mouth, the man said his counselor in 11th grade laughed at the thought of this man going to college, laughed at the thought. This is an idiot. And I say that the man sat on a couch and told some interviewer that, yeah, the drug dealers in his community, they all put out the word, don't touch Stephen A. Smith, because we know this little retarded boy that got held back in 4th grade, he's gonna be a big deal someday. And there was a whole statement put out across the neighborhood. There's a protection around Stephen A. Smith. He's so important to our future. He said this during an interview. This man told a far-fetched story about, yeah, in February in 1987, I had an outdoor basketball tryout with a Winston-Salem State player, and then he drove me down the next week to try out in front of Big House Gaines, and I hit 17 straight three-pointers, and they gave me a scholarship on the spot. This is in February. He went to a scrimmage in February when Winston-Salem State would have been wrapping up its regular season. This is, only an idiot would tell this story. He told it. He's gotten away with it. He's a useful idiot. He's backed by Bob Iger and Disney. He's backed by people that are trying to pervert your children, that are putting in Disney movies all these sexual things. They feel like nothing has changed. And I'm humble enough to say, hey, they may know better than me. They know what they've gotten away with. They know that the American public watched Building 7 fall and didn't bat an eye. Didn't, hey, well, that's crazy. Nothing hit Building 7. And we're just going to accept that Osama bin Laden sitting in a cave in Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever the hell he was, he caused Building 7 to fall to commit suicide. They know what they've got. JFK was killed in broad daylight. And oh yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald did it. They've seen us buy worse. And so selling Stephen A. Smith, this is business as usual. This is a orchestrated plan to install unqualified, entitled people in positions of power. Unqualified, entitled people are dangerous. They're easy to control. They have no moral compass. There's nothing they won't do for money and power. I want to play just a quick clip of Stephen A. talking about James Carville, and just it's amazing what he says that he won't do or incapable of doing.
And if you're going to mention my name, can we cut out the profanity? Can we stop cussing? Can we stop acting like we're juveniles? I've had enough of that fat bastard. That piece of shit.
No moral compass. No consistent logic. No standard of behavior. No accountability. This is a unqualified, useful idiot. And he's entitled. And as I've tried to explain to you all, the unqualified, entitled idiot is the bane of society. And so I'm glad Joy Reid got what was coming to her. I'm glad. Am I confident that we've seen the last of this? No, not at all. There's a side of America, and it's hard to identify. There's just part of America that will always fall for. That we've baked in so much racial idolatry. We've mainstreamed so much racial idolatry. We've branded racism or anti-white racism as a positive, and anti-black racism as a negative. Our logic is so inconsistent that I'm not sure we can fix this. I'm not sure. I'm hopeful, God can fix anything.